Hello grade 8s and welcome back to WorksheetCloud. This is grade 8 English and I'm Mrs. Goslet for those of you who don't know me, and I'll be teaching you today. If you have a question during the lesson, please send us an email with your question to grade8@worksheetcloud.com. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I'm having one of those days. Have you ever woken up and just found a pimple on your face, or a fever blister, or something else that you're not happy with, and you just don't want to face the day? Now today I have a little pimple here. Luckily I can cover it, but it's quite itchy and it's annoying me, and I'm very aware of it. And this just reminds me of, I get fever blisters, and it's since I was young. So those of you who get fever blisters will know the pain we go through. Those of you who don't will still know the pain, because we all get a pimple now and then. Then we have to wake up and go to school or go to work. And it's terrible because you feel like everyone is looking at you going, oh my goodness, what is on her face? But I've learned with experience to either own it and just shut it down as quickly as possible, or just to ignore it, to pretend it's not there. So I'm going to talk about a fever blister. So I can relate to those people who get it, and I'm always there for them. I support them. I'm like, you must boost your immune system. You must do this, because essentially what it is, it means my immune system is low. I've actually got a very good immune system. I don't know why I'm talking so off topic today, but anyway. But we all have those days. You guys might be lucky. Your parents, you might say, Mom, I can't go to school today. I've got a huge pimple on my face. But I woke up one morning and I had a big fever blister, and I had to go to work, because you feel fine. It's just an outer appearance thing. Oh my goodness. And then I was so scared, and I just didn't want to face anybody. I would look down and not talk to them. And then you'd feel those people staring at your lip or staring at your pimple. And you're just like, can you just give me some? But maybe they weren't. We just don't know. So now I tackle it in two ways. One, I either just address it and get it over and done with, which is nice in my job. Not really with adults. People they come up to you and they say, what's on your lip? And I'm like, what does it look like? So you always get that, but it kind of builds character. It makes you stronger. So now what I do is I walk into class. This is after years of experience. And I say to the kids, okay guys, I have a fever blister. It's on my lip. I'm not feeling well. Yeah. So I sort of like tackle it head on. You could try that with your friendship group. You could sit there and say, guys, I have a pimple, get over it. But I don't know if that'll work so much. The other thing is I just ignore it. But sometimes ignoring it, there's always one learner or someone who says, what's on your lip? So you know what? We all have those days. I have mine today, so it's here. Luckily I'm hiding it. But if I scratch, I'm sorry, it's itchy and it's sore. But anyway, hello, I hope you're all well and ready for today's lesson. It is active and passive. So most of you know this one. And we're just going to recap and revise for those of you who know it. And for those of you who don't know it, hopefully you can learn something. I think it will be good for you to grab a pen and paper, because I'm going to go through it step by step so that you can learn. And sometimes you can rewatch the video for a refreshment, but sometimes it's good to write something down, because then it really gets stuck into your head quite nicely. So what is the active voice? Now, most tests don't really test how we're going to look at it today. I just want to introduce I want you to be able to identify, this is the active voice sentence, this is a passive voice sentence. In a test or exam, I've only ever seen it asked, change the active voice into the passive voice. Okay, and most of you will actually be able to do this. So let's look at it. The active voice. Active voice is when the subject of the sentence does the action. So for us to identify, we have to know what a subject is. And most of you do know what a subject of the sentence is. But don't worry if you don't. I'm going to explain it to you. So if you look at the sentence, the soldier entered the house. So a way to find out the subject, we always ask the question, who or what, before the verb. So it's so important to understand what a verb is. So point number 1, you can see I've bolded the verb. So entered is the verb. Then we ask the question to find the subject, who or what. So who entered? The soldier. And that's the way to tell us the subject. So if it's in the active voice, the subject, the soldier, is doing the action. So the soldier is physically walking, entering into the house. Okay, so that's how you'll know that a sentence is in the active voice. This is the active form of the verb. The sentence is in the active voice. How do we know if something's in the passive voice? Okay, the passive voice is when the subject has the action done to it. So same sentence, let's look at it the other way around. The house was entered by the soldier. So let's just pause for a moment, go back. So here, the subject is doing the action. The subject is a soldier, he's entering the house. Here, the subject has the action done to it. The house is the subject, was entered by the soldier. Does that make sense? Okay, so let's look at it. The action is done to the subject because the house is not entering the soldier. I mean, that makes no sense. So the house was entered, so the action is being done to the subject. Okay, if you guys can remember that, that would be great. So if you want to make a note of this, write it down, pause it, or come back to it later on. Okay, so the action is done to the subject, the house. This is the passive form of the verb. The sentence is in the passive voice. So I hope you understand the difference between active and passive voice. So in a test or exam, they would give you the sentence, the soldier entered the house. And they would say, change it to the passive voice. But now how do we do that? Everyone's going, but ma'am, or some of you are going, I know how. Let's look at it. Firstly, when do we use passive voice? When we are not sure who did the action. So here's an example. So who broke the window? We don't know. So the window was broken. When a nameless accusation is made, the door was left open and Fluffy escaped. So we don't know who left the door open. When it is not necessary to mention the subject, which is the doer, dinner will be served. Okay, so this is just extra information of when we will actually use the passive voice. Now we're going to look at the steps. I love teaching this because it really helps a lot of learners to actually understand if they struggle to change from active to passive. If you follow this, you are bound to succeed. So let's look at it. How do we change a sentence from active to passive? Well, I'm going to teach you. Step 1, we need to find the verb. Now, I know a lot of people are actually scared of clowns. It's a thing. So I didn't put a clown as a picture. I didn't want to scare those people away, those learners. So our sentence is, in the active voice, the clown performs the trick. That's active. The subject is doing the action. Underline the verb. So that's our point number 1. Performs is our verb. Step number 2, we need to identify or find the subject and the object. Now we ask the question, who or what, before the verb to find the subject. So, who performs? The clown. Then we ask the question, who or what, after the verb. So we say, the clown performs what? The trick. So this is our subject and this is our object. Step number 3. Now we're going to start a new sentence with the object. So our object was the trick. So you can even write this down for me. The trick, ... because now we don't know what to do next. Some of you might know what to do next, and you're more than welcome to carry on. Step 4. I always like to leave a gap for the verb, because we're going to come back to it. Because we need to put the object to the front, which is going to become our subject, and we need to make our subject become at the end of the sentence, to move to the end. Okay, so we're leaving a gap for our verb. Then step number 5 is to write down by. And this is always a trick I say to my learners. If they're not sure if the sentence is in the passive form, look for by. So we're going to write the trick. We're leaving a gap for the verb. We're going to write by, and then we're going to put our subject down. I jumped ahead. I'm sorry about that. So step 6, write down the subject of the original sentence. So the subject of our original sentence was the clown. So can you see we've moved the object, which was the trick, to the start of the sentence, and it's now become our subject. We've left a little gap for our verb. We're going to get there just now. Then the step said I must put by, so I put by, and then I put in the clown. Okay, so that is important to remember. Now all we need to do is finish our sentence. Step 7, we need to fill in the verb. The clown performs the trick. So if I read the sentence, the trick performs by the clown, that doesn't make sense. So what we need to do is we need to keep it in the same tense. So if you can see, the clown performs. Performs is present tense. So we need an auxiliary verb to help us to keep it in the same tense. Okay, are you still with me? The trick is performed by the clown. Okay, here's my auxiliary verb. Okay, remember when we did verbs? Auxiliary verbs are helping. It's helping. Pronouns change from subject form to the object form. So just remember. So in our example, we don't have, it could have been, let's do he. He performs the trick. Now if I change it, you can't say the trick is performed by he. You have to change it to, do you know what it is? Him. I actually don't have him on here. I do apologize for that. So if we had she, because a clown can also be a girl, the trick is performed by her. We don't say by she. Okay, so you can write this down, but please remember this. I changes to me, you stays the same, she changes to her, it stays the same, we changes to us, and they changes to them, and I forgot about he changes to him. Okay, so it's important to note that. Then, I spoke about this a bit earlier, you need to add an auxiliary verb that is in that same tense, or not the same tense, because you get present, continuous, and all of that. So we're just not going to go into too much detail because most of you would have picked up on this now. Here's another example. So we're going to look at it in the present tense. Active, the boy kicks the ball. Now, if you can identify the verb, it's kicks. So who or what before the verb? The boy. That's our subject. Kicks what? The ball. That's our object. So now I know step one, I need to start with my object. So I put it there, the ball. Then what do? I leave a gap. Okay, nice big gap for my verb. Then I add by. Okay, then what's our next step? So we've got the ball by, then we add the boy. So our sentence goes, the ball by the boy. Now we need to change kicks to is kicked. Alright, so the ball is kicked by the boy. If I went too fast, go back to the steps, use the sentence and try and do it by yourself. We can just quickly look at the past. The boy kicked the ball was kicked by the boy. Okay, the boy will kick the ball will be kicked by the boy. Okay, so it's important to note again, active voice, what happens there? The subject, the boy, does the action of the sentence. Then we know it is active voice. The boy is the subject, he's doing the action of kicking, kicks. Then the passive voice, if you're not sure, always look for the word by. That always helps you to remember. But you can see the subject has the action done to it. So the ball is kicked by the boy. Okay, so let's move on. I'd like you to please identify if the following sentences are in the active voice or in the passive voice. You can pause your screen and write down your answers, but I'm going to go through the answers with you now. Alright, so I've got at the bottom there, just so that you can remember, the subject does the action. So if you look at the first one, that sentence is in the active voice. She begged her dad to let her drive. So you can see these sentences are a little bit longer, not as basic or simple as our examples. But let's look at the second one, number 2. I see the word by, so I immediately know it's passive voice. All the houses in the neighborhood were robbed by the same man. Okay, so it's showing us that the subject has the action done to it. So the houses in their neighborhood, the action was, they were robbed. Okay, so that is the action's being done to the subject. Number 3 is also in the passive voice. There's by, that's our clue. The lotto jackpot. Oh my goodness, guys. Imagine winning the lotto. Sorry, I just got very excited now. I never used to play it. But every now and then, you know, why not? Just, yeah, I give up because then I'm like, oh, I'm not winning. But then I think sometimes, well, maybe I will one day. Oh, goodness. We can all dream, hey? I've got all sidetracked. So the lotto jackpot was won by a man from Kimberley. So the action, won, is being done to the subject, the lotto jackpot. Okay, so the subject is not doing the actual winning or the action. So that shows us it's in the passive voice. Number 4 is in the active voice. I sent you an email. So the subject I is doing the action of sending the email. I hope that makes sense. Number 5, the email was sent an hour ago. Remember, email can't send its own email to someone else. So over here again, this is the passive voice, although it doesn't have by. So they've left it out. So it could just be, we can add it in, the email was sent an hour ago by him. Okay. Same one. Oh, here the next one I see by. So the same thing, it's in the passive voice. Number 6, Africa Day is loved by everyone. Number 7 is in the active voice. The whole team had been waiting for me. So the subject, the whole team, doing the action of waiting for this person. I know it can be quite frustrating, but if you love someone, you'll wait for them. That's friendship goals. Okay, then I'd like you to please do this for me quickly. So identify the sentence, what is it, active or passive? You may pause the screen, but I'm going to go through the answers with you. Right, so the first one, Mary makes her bed every morning. Mary is a good child. Her mother taught her well, is in the active voice. Number 2, Charlie is writing a letter, active voice. Well done if you guys are on track so far. Number 3, a letter is being written by Charlie. That's passive voice. The whole cake was eaten by my brother. Passive voice. Number 5, my mum is going to bake a delicious cake. Ooh, that sounds amazing. That's in the active voice. Number 6, the ball was chased by the dog. Passive. By. Number 7, I washed my car last week. Active. And lastly, I sent the letters yesterday. Active. I really hope that you guys are now experts on active and passive sentences. Don't worry if you didn't get all of these right. Maybe you rushed through it. Watch the video again and do it again, because practice makes perfect. So we learned about active and passive, and that active, the sentence does the action. So I hope you'll remember that and the steps that we actually went through. I've got there yay, just so that we can just be happy. Sorry about the beginning where, you know, we had a bit of a start with the long-winded story, but sometimes that happens. Please do the activity if you'd like afterwards. It will help you. And then if you have any questions about this lesson or any questions at all, please email us at grade8@worksheetcloud.com. Last bit of motivation for today, and this is so true, especially when you're having a bit of a bad day on the outside. Happiness blooms from within. I love seeing people, or you can just see when someone is truly happy from within. And I think that's so important. It takes a while to love ourselves, but love who you are. Love what the outer appearance is. Love your body. Love who you are on the inside as well. And be a good person and kind to every single person. I hope that you are staying warm and cozy and that you learned something today. Thanks for watching Grade 8. This lesson was brought to you by WorksheetCloud. I'm Mrs. Goslet, and I'll check you later. Bye.